Welcome to Plot Leakage. My name's Jay and this is episode 9. But today we're doing something a little bit different, okay? We talk about all different types of movies here, mostly Marvel, sometimes DC, and I will eventually, if I care enough to, or if you guys want me to, cover plot leaks for movies that aren't even comic book related. But for now, we stay on theme. And for now, I stick with what I know. And right now, I want to talk about the DCU and James Gunn. I've seen so many videos recently. I'm just going to put it plainly. People love to hate on James Gunn. Okay, let me speak first things first to the Snyder fans. Because I think I might be, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think I might be the only man in the world who is both a Snyder fan and a James Gunn fan. Just a quick rundown of my kind of history with both filmmakers. I love Man of Steel. 10 out of 10 movie. I absolutely adore Man of Steel, and it was a perfect way to begin a cinematic universe, in my opinion. I love Zack Snyder's visual style. I love Superman. I watched all 10 seasons of Smallville. I love Superman. I didn't like Batman vs Superman, and I think that's, where that movie is the exact point where the DC fandom, when it comes to films, split open. If you love Batman vs Superman, I respect that. I would like you to tell me in the comments though, how many times have you watched the original version? If you're talking about the editor's cut or the definitive edition, fair enough, I haven't seen those versions. I was so disappointed with the version I paid to go see in theaters back in 2016. I was so disappointed that I didn't care to watch any other version of that movie. I probably will one day, but I'm talking about the original version in theaters. If you love that version, how many times have you seen it to date? Because I have friends who claim that they like that movie and they've seen it once. But when I ask them, how many times have you seen Captain America Civil War? Countless times. And I'm someone that thinks that the more replay value a movie has, the more you like it. But I couldn't bring myself to rewatch Batman vs Superman. I find it to be a very slow movie. I don't think the actual fight between Batman vs Superman is that good, which is a shame. I don't think the story is that interesting. And I think that it was overstuffed. With Doomsday and Wonder Woman and Lex Luthor and all that stuff, it was just too much going on. And I think it's fair to compare Batman vs Superman directly to Captain America Civil War. And I love Captain America Civil War. If you'd asked me as a kid, which movie would you prefer to see? Batman fighting Superman or Captain America fighting Iron Man? We all would have said Batman vs Superman. So how is it that one movie was successful and one arguably wasn't? You feel me? I didn't like Batman vs Superman. I don't know who to blame for that, but I definitely didn't like the original Justice League. Again, don't know who to blame for that. I also wasn't a big fan of the original Suicide Squad. That's 3 movies in the early DCEU that I did not like, that I felt I wasted money paying to go see. It may not be Zack Snyder's fault specifically, but at the end of the day, I understand why the DCEU had to die. It wasn't successful. They made more bad films than they did good films. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. The Snyder Cut is one of my favorite superhero movies ever. I think the Snyder Cut is comparable to Infinity War. I think it's a 10 out of 10 movie. It's 4 hours long and I've seen it 5 times and I cannot wait to watch it again. So don't talk to me like I'm not a true Snyder fan. I even watched Rebel Moon 1 and 2, not the director's cuts. I wasn't a big fan of Rebel Moon, I'll be honest. I think that they were just a bit generic. Not that, it's actually a bit boring. The first one, I believe it was the first one, a bit boring. But I'm not here to talk about Rebel Moon. I'm just saying that I do like Zack Snyder. I like his visual style, but I just think he's a filmmaker that needs help. Whether he has someone else write the movie and he just directs it, or he has someone to help him write it. I don't know what it is. Maybe he needs a certain producer to reel him in that he listens to. But I don't buy this idea that Zack Snyder, just got unlucky. I think there's more to it than that. I think he maybe bit off a bit more than he could chew. Again, I'm a big Zack Snyder fan and I love the Snyder Cut. And I too am sad that we'll never get Snyder Cut Part 2. But I understand why we're not going to get it. And it's just not going to happen. I know that no matter how much you boycott James Gunn's films and shows, it will never bring Snyder back. They will never do that. They're never going to give us the sequel that you want. The most we can hope for is that James Gunn's DCU does well, and then in 10 years he does a crisis event and he brings back Henry Cavill with Superman. He might be a bit older, but they can do some multiversal crossover like they have done right now with Marvel. And then maybe then we can get the spiritual successor to Zack Snyder's Justice League. We can get a movie that ties up those loose ends. But as of right now, it's not going to happen. And I know that that's tough to hear, but I don't see the point of being so angry about it. At least we have the Snyder Cut. We almost didn't have the Snyder Cut. If it wasn't for COVID, we probably wouldn't have the Snyder Cut. So at least we have the Snyder Cut. At least we have Man of Steel. I even like the Flash movie because it was kind of like Man of Steel 2. So we have what we have. And I think the Flash did a great job at kind of being the ending to the DCEU. It kind of went full circle because the Flash is directly related to Man of Steel, which was the first film. So the whole thing kind of goes full circle. And if you like Aquaman, then you got his second movie as well as a booster. And then you got Blue Beetle if you want. So it is what it is. To the Snyder fans, I feel you. I'm a Snyder fan, but I don't see the point in being so negative. You don't have to watch the new DC movies. I'd say you should give them a chance, but you don't have to. If you don't like James Gunn and you're just that upset, fair enough. But I don't think the boycotting and all that stuff, I don't think the hate and the anger is gonna achieve anything, okay? Not to mention, whilst I see where you guys are coming from, it's not James Gunn's fault that the Snyder, I mean, people want to blame him specifically, but he isn't in charge of DC. He's the co-CEO with another guy called Peter Safran. So it's only 50% James Gunn. It probably wasn't necessarily his decision to restart what he restarted. And let's just go through people's biggest complaints of James Gunn. Before I say that, I love the Guardians movies. I love Peacemaker. I love the Suicide Squad. I'm loving Creature Commandos. And I can't wait for Superman. I am definitely a bigger James Gunn fan than I am a Snyder fan, and I'm very excited for what James Gunn's going to bring to the table. That being said, let's go through people's most popular complaints about James Gunn and why. And again, people want to say that James Gunn fans are just biased and they can't listen to reason, and they can't, if you say one bad thing about James Gunn, they just, insult you. I want to be an example of a James Gunn fan who's heard the criticism and has a level head and just wants to respond calmly to the complaints I've heard and why they are stupid. No, I'm joking. Why I, have a different opinion. Again, I'm not necessarily Snyder cult, but I am a big Snyder fan. And I've addressed that side. So now let me address the James Gunn side. Big complaint people have is that the canon is already too confusing. It really isn't, guys. If it's easier for you to imagine this as a hard reboot, then just do that, okay? Just watch Superman as if it's the new Man of Steel. Just watch Superman as the beginning of something new, okay? There's one scene in Peacemaker with the Justice League that they're gonna explain. My guess, they'll say that Peacemaker was lying and that he never actually saw the Justice League and it was in his head. Because Peacemaker does that. If you've seen season 1, he constantly lies about having met big superheroes. And if you watch the scene where he walks past the Justice League at the end of season 1, he's the only person that acknowledges them. It actually make a lot of sense for them to say that Peacemaker made that up and he never actually saw the Justice League. It would work. So let's say that's what they do. That scene isn't real, which means that Peacemaker season 1 and eventually 2 can both be canon to this new universe. Then you have issues with the Suicide Squad. Again, I see no reason why the Suicide Squad can't be canon to the new DCU. Let's not overcomplicate things. Some actors kept their roles in this reboot. I don't think that's that complicated. I don't think you need to recast every single person. I agree that this isn't a hard reboot. I mean, it is though. Because would you argue that the MCU and Spider-Man wasn't a hard reboot from Tobey Maguire? How is it that J. Jonah Jameson is played by the same actor? It's still a hard reboot. Tom Holland's story has nothing to do with Tobey Maguire's story outside of multiverse crossover. But J. Jonah Jameson's played by the same actor in 2 different universes, and that's fine. We are comic book nerds. We're the only ones who care about this. Casuals don't care, and they don't need to. So to the comic book fans like myself who care, we've seen this before. It's not that big a deal for an actor to have the same role in 2 different comic book universes playing the same character. They did it with J. Jonah Jameson and no one better than I. So what's the big deal if Viola Davis is still Amanda Waller? She was perfect casting. Why not? Same with John Cena as Peacemaker. Same with Harley Quinn as Margot Robbie, which I hope they keep. So let me just address that. That's not that complicated, okay? If James Gunn made it, it's canon. If he didn't make it, it isn't canon. It's that simple, okay? The previous DCEU is like unreliable memories, as he described it. So then the next point people probably have is, well, if you're going to keep some actors the same, why on God's green earth would you not keep Henry Cavill as Superman? And I wish Henry Cavill stayed Superman. I really do. He was amazing, perfect casting, I agree. But at the end of the day, this is still a reboot. It's still a reboot. And I think that the main way that James Gunn wants to signal to casuals that this is a reboot is by recasting the big three. Everyone else is fair game. But when you recast the big three, it sends a message that if you didn't like the old DC live action films, you might like these ones because they're not the same. So I think that's what it comes down to. That Henry Cavill's Superman is too tied to a lot of films that failed. Ben Affleck doesn't want to be Batman anymore, and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, again, is too tied to the old universe. So that's why we're not getting a new Batman movie anytime soon. That's why we're not getting a new Wonder Woman movie anytime soon. And technically, we haven't had a Superman movie since Man of Steel in 2013. Yes, he was in 2016 Suicide Squad, but even that was almost 10 years ago. Whereas Wonder Woman and Batman, Ben Affleck, he was in The Flash. These characters have appeared quite like a lot more recently. So it's going to take a couple extra years for them to come back in live action because you want to wipe the slate clean. Really and truly, DC should have taken a break. They should have taken like a break between cinematic universes. This is a reboot, maybe not the hardest of reboots, which is a good thing. If you love the DCEU, then surely it's a good thing that a lot of it is still kind of canon, in a way. I mean, I like, in my head, until proven otherwise, Man of Steel is the prequel to Superman. Because who's to say that David Corenswet hasn't fought Zod before? Who's to say? We don't know, until proven otherwise. So I like to think that the DCEU, a lot of those things kind of happened. The Wonder Woman stuff is a bit weird because they're saying Wonder Woman is not public yet, and obviously Gal Gadot's version was. Let's not overconfuse it, guys. Simply put, Superman is the beginning of something new. The big three, as in Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they need to be new actors because this is a new universe. Whether you like it or not, the DCEU flopped. It didn't make enough money to justify its existence. It's over. It's dead. I'm sorry, guys. The best we can hope for is that the new big three are great and that James Gunn gives us a Justice League movie where they fight Darkseid and we get the spiritual successor to the Snyder Cut. That's the best we can hope for. And if he doesn't do Darkseid, then I hope he does Brainiac. And if he doesn't do Brainiac, then I hope he does the Black Lanterns. And if he doesn't do that, and my actual guess right now, by the way, is that, and this is just a guess, but given that Lanterns is supposed to be a big deal in the DCU's overarching narrative, my guess is that the Black Lanterns are going to be the main villains. And that's a great story arc. I'll do a bigger video on that if you want. But that's my guess, is that they're not going to do Darkseid yet, but one day they could. And when they do Darkseid, it will be like a sequel to the Snyder Cut. Brainiac, they might say for the Superman sequel or trilogy. I think that they will and should do the Black Lanterns as the main villains to the DCU. If Lanterns, the Green Lantern TV show coming out, I think next year, if that's supposed to be big, like a big deal and important, then the Black Lanterns are the perfect choice. That was a huge event. I think it's called Blackest Night in the comics. And that's a crazy event. Again, I'll do a bigger video explaining, but it's very Green Lantern focused, but it's also the Justice League. It's the entire DC universe versus the Black Lanterns, who are like evil Green Lantern zombies. My point? We need a new big three. So Wonder Woman is going to be a new actor whenever we see her, new origin, new background. We have a new Superman, but I like to think that his backstory is pretty much the same as Henry Cavill's. And last but not least, Batman is the big question mark everyone has right now. You know, Creature Commandos just released a new episode that had a glimpse at what Batman is supposed to look like in a DCU, and he's really swole, hence, wham, big, if you will. I think the only reason they did that is because he was, originally Creature Commandos was in the DCEU, so originally that was supposed to be Ben Affleck's Batman, who is swole. I mean, Ben Affleck's Batman looks a lot like what we saw in the cartoon. So I don't put too much thought into that design. But realistically, we'll probably get a new Batman, new Wonder Woman. Of course, we already have a new Superman, because this is a new universe. The DCEU is gone. I'm ready to embrace what James Gunn's got going on. The canon might seem confusing now, but we haven't even gotten a single movie yet. Just be patient. I trust that it will all make sense. But my final note on this whole, oh, but the canon's confusing me thing, is really not that deep. It really isn't. James Gunn made a good point. These are all made up stories. So however the canon makes sense to you, go with it. Okay? If you want to pretend this is a hard reboot and some actors are the same, that's fine. That is what happened. If you want to pretend that DCU is still alive and Superman is secretly Man of Steel 2 and everything is just continuing and the Flash just messed the timeline up a little bit so people look a bit different and shit, then that's fine. We read comic books. I refuse to believe that someone that cares about canon isn't used to confusing canon when we all read comics. People are pretending that they're not used to confusing canon. It's not even that confusing. You can just look at the Flash movie, the timeline got messed up, and here we are. It's not that deep. Let's focus on how good these stories actually are. Next topic. Batman, since I brought it up. I love Robert Pattinson's Batman. I think the Batman was a great movie, 10 out of 10. I personally think that they do well to just canonize Robert Pattinson, as the new Batman. I think his young Batman and David Corensant's young Superman, they look like they could be friends. They look the same age. They look like they match, you know, with their physical builds and design. I think it'd work really well. I don't think there's anything in the Batman movie that contradicts the existence of Superman and other heroes. It's so self-contained to Gotham that it's fine. So that's my vote. My vote is that they really should just do a thing wherein Robert Pattinson is the new Batman, because I don't want two live action Bat people. I don't want two Batmen. I know it could happen, but I'm not a big fan. Like, I'm even trying to think, like, when have they done that in the movies? Obviously there were two Quicksilvers, but even then the MCU did one Quicksilver in one movie and it wasn't his movie. And the X-Men had their Quicksilver, but he wasn't like the main character. The movie wasn't called Quicksilver. So I can let that slide. But this is the same reason why I wouldn't want there to be Amazing Spider-Man 3 or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4. It's too weird to have two live-action versions of the same comic character from the same company. I think it's a bit much. Like, if you want to release two Sherlock Holmes movies in the same year, that is fine, because people can appreciate that these are two different universes, two different companies. But when everything has the Marvel/DC logo, I think that's when it can get a bit confusing, especially when these characters have crossed over together before. So I'm not a big fan of the, you know, do the Batman Part 2 and then the Batman Part 3 and then we'll do the Brave and the Bold as a separate thing. I'm not a big fan of that, but since that is technically the current plan, that could be what they do. I respect that Matt Reeves probably wants to keep his story separate because that was always the plan. He wants to do the Christian Bale thing, have it be Elseworlds, not have it be convoluted by other stuff, and that's fair enough. The multiverse exists, so even after the Batman Part 3 comes out, there's no reason that Robert Pattinson couldn't come back for a future Infinite Crisis crossover event and meet David Corensant's Superman. And he could meet the other DCU Batman, who again, I'm calling it right now, it will be a whole new actor. But they're gonna delay the Brave and the Bold until Robert Pattinson is done, more or less, as Batman. They don't want two at the same time, but it's up to Matt Reeves, and I don't think he wants the Batman in the DCU. So they'll just wait until the Batman has finished his story, whether it's 2 or 3 movies long. So we won't see live action DCU Batman for a little while, but that's fine. No Justice League movie's been announced, and the Brave and the Bold is looking less and less likely. You know, they delayed that movie. So it's early to tell, but I think that they'll either wait until the Batman series is done and then give us a new Batman. But my hope, my vote, what I think would be easiest is just canonize Robert Pattinson, make life easy. The Batman is officially the first film in a DCU, and it was very successful. We lit. Next topic, music. James Gunn, in all his movies, music is a big part of it. I love it. I think it works really well. Peacemaker has an amazing theme song. The needle drops that James Gunn does are great. And I really have no complaints if he wants to put music in the films that he directs. I see no issue with it. Superman is a normal guy. Superman is a normal human, apart from the fact that he's technically not human. He would listen to music. He would have an iPhone with AirPods and music that he listens to. So I see no reason why James Gunn can't question what kind of music does Clark Kent listen to. I want to find that out. Don't you? He's a normal guy. When I think of Clark Kent, he's a normal guy that drinks beers on the couch with his friends or his wife. He listens to music. He obviously doesn't go gym, but whatever he kind of does to work out, why not listen to music, you know? So I think the needle drops are going to be great in Superman, and I guess that's just a personal preference, but if you really hate that James Gunn puts music in his movies, then I don't know what to tell you. His movies do well, and I think the music helps, and Superman, none of his movies are just music videos. Like, they're movies with great stories, and the music always adds to it, so I'm here for it. I think the teaser trailer for Superman did a good job at showing us that there will be a score, there will be, the epic, grandiose music, but why not a needle drop here and there? I think people are complaining for no real reason. That's just I think the needle drop thing, the music thing is just super subjective. I like it, so fair enough if you don't. Next topic. This is a minor one, but people do complain about James Gunn casting his friends and family in his movies. I think it's an unfair complaint because a lot of directors do the same thing. I won't lie, I'm not going to name them off the top of my head, but other directors do the same thing, okay? I don't really see the big deal. It's not like his friends and family are like terrible actors to where it sticks out. Like, it only sticks out if you know that that's his brother, that's his wife. That's the only thing. And even then, to me, it doesn't really stick out. It doesn't bother me. It's fine. Like, why wouldn't you put your friends and family and people you work well with in your projects if you know it will help the success of the project? Why work with strangers just because? I don't get the argument. It's seriously telling me that if you have the power to put your talented friends in a movie and help them with a paycheck and help them boost their career, but also you like working with them, also they're actually good, they're talented, like, why wouldn't you? It's really, I think, a superficial complaint. Again, we have to consider casuals, and casuals do not know who James Gunn even is, let alone who his wife or brother are. So it's really not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. And I really don't understand how that can bother people so much, that he might put his family and friends, like Guy Gardner's played by his friend, who he's used in other movies, who is obviously a big actor, but it's a minor thing, in my opinion, in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't actually take away from the story being told or anything like that. Fair enough if to you it's a little bit like, oh, that's his wife, oh, that's his brother, oh, that's his friend. Again, it doesn't bother me at all. These are movies at the end of the day. I can sit and watch Jake Gyllenhaal in a million movies, and I'm not thinking, oh man, that's that same guy. Like, they're actors, they get lost in the role. You don't think about it. When I'm watching Creature Commandos, I'm not just thinking, oh, G.I. Robot, that's James Gunn's brother. Like, I'm not thinking that. I'm just enjoying the story being told. And I hate to tell you, I'm a filmmaker, and though I use my family and friends right now because I can't afford to pay anyone else to be in my films, even when I can, so long as they want to and they're talented enough, which they are, I'd absolutely give jobs to my family. Why the heck wouldn't you? James Gunn also, I like his casting choices. I like that he casts a nice variety of people, and yeah, you work with him once and you get along, he'll give you another job. Like, this is Hollywood. It's the kingdom of nepotism, and nepotism isn't the end of the world. I hate to say it, okay? Because I just know that if you watching this had a brother or sister or a parent who was struggling and you could give them a job, why wouldn't you? So I think it's a minor complaint that only bothers very few people. And I don't know what to tell you. I really think you're overreacting if that really bothers you. Let the man cook. A lot of directors and filmmakers do it, and I don't think he should be made to feel bad. It's not like he's made a movie starring his wife just because she's his wife. He's not made a, you know what I mean? Like, he'll give them big roles, don't get me wrong. His wife is a main character in Peacemaker. His brother's a main character in Creature Commandos. But it's Peacemaker and Creature Commandos. It's not like he's made his wife Wonder Woman. It's not like his brother is the new Superman. Like, relax, okay? Most people really like his casting choices. So, again, I kind of think you're, complaining over something that isn't really that big a deal that other directors do. But again, maybe that's subjective too. I really just think that like it's crazy to get onto him for nepotism when like so many filmmakers do it. I'm willing to bet your favorite actor is a product of nepotism. You don't even know it. It's like your favorite director. It happens so much. And just because James Gunn's a bit more open about it in terms of he'll say, this is my brother, this is my wife, this is my friend. People shit on him. Allow it. Allow it. It's not that deep. What else do people complain about when it comes to James Gunn? I can briefly touch on like his edginess. There was that recent controversy on Twitter where he posted the Creature Commandos SEX scene clip. Look, I'm sure to the cast and crew that was very funny, and I'm sure to some fans it was very funny. All I'm gonna say is not that deep, okay? I know it's 2024, people are easily offended, but like relax. I actually have huge respect that James Gunn isn't gonna let the woke mind virus stop him from posting a funny, immature clip, okay? It was immature, it was stupid, whatever, but it wasn't like some insanely inappropriate, oh my gosh, how could he do this? Like, I'll admit, I didn't find it that funny personally. I think it's more of an inside joke that he tried to make public, but I like, bro, the actress involved. And for those who don't know, he posted a 3-second clip of a voice actor on his cartoon doing a love scene. So she's like making grunting noises. It's not at all romantic. It's not at all something that you can touch yourself to. It is a 3-second goofy clip because it's goofy. And everyone involved in the clip was fine with posting it. They all reshared it. The actress reshared it. Bruh, this is just an example of people being like woke and PC and crybabies. I can't lie, but that is a snowflake thing. I'm sorry. I know I said I wouldn't name call. I wouldn't be mean to people that disagree. But I hate to say it, but that's just straight up like, go watch some South Park and touch grass, because that really was not that big a deal. I appreciate that he's a CEO of a company, but who says CEOs of companies can't make jokes, even if they're a little bit risque? I've worked in offices. I like when I can make a bit of a risky joke in front of my manager or when they do it in front of me. Like, the reality is most people in the real world are not PC, simply put. And yeah, again, James Gunn is not the only CEO. If you want a super serious CEO who doesn't tweet all the time, then look at Peter Safran. I respect that James Gunn interacts with his fans. It's helped him build his fan base to what it is. I think it's really cool that he answers questions, even if sometimes people get a bit, I don't know, they think too much about what he tweets. Like, people take this. Like, I'm a huge fan of DC and films and James Gunn, but some people take this stuff a bit too serious, you know? So what if he tweeted one thing and then did something else? Like, you gonna sue him? Like, I don't know, man. I think people just have it out for my boy.